Hi, I'm Nathan. Nice to meet you. Before I tell you my story, kindly tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I like to know where you're from. Now let's dive in. I used to think that family loyalty was sacred, that no matter how badly someone screwed up, you stood by them. That's why 2 years ago, I drained my savings, maxed my credit cards, and liquidated the small investment account I'd been building for a decade, all to cover my family's debts. It wasn't one lump sum. It was one emergency after another. My sister Laura had a knack for getting herself into credit card trouble. My parents had refinanced the house 3 times, each time digging themselves deeper into the hole. Every time I bailed them out, I told myself it was the last time. But they'd cry, apologize, and swear they'd change. And I wanted to believe them. By the time I finished paying off the final loan, a $27,000 monster with interest that could have drowned them, I was exhausted. But I felt proud. I thought I'd given them a clean slate. I thought I'd bought us all peace. Then came the birthday party. Laura had just turned 35. I wasn't planning on going, but my mother insisted. "It'll mean a lot to your sister," she said. "She's had such a hard year." I went, thinking maybe it was time to start enjoying the fruits of my sacrifice. The second I walked into the living room, I knew I'd made a mistake. My sister was laughing with her friends, champagne glass in hand, showing off the new gold watch I'd bought her 3 Christmases ago. She'd never thanked me for it, not really. I was halfway to the kitchen when I heard it. "Oh please," she was telling someone, "Nathan thinks he's some kind of hero. You'd think paying a few bills makes him the family's savior." Laughter erupted around her. Even my parents smiled uncomfortably. I froze. My chest tightened. The words were sharp, but it was the tone, dripping with mockery, that sliced me open. After everything I'd done, after years of cleaning up their messes, I wasn't just unappreciated. I was a joke. I left without saying goodbye. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at my phone, scrolling through photos of all the things I'd given them over the years. The new couch in my parents' living room, the car I'd helped Laura buy, the expensive kitchen appliances I'd shipped last Christmas. My generosity had been feeding their entitlement. By midnight, I'd made a decision. The next morning, I called my lawyer. There was a trust fund I'd set up for Laura's daughter, Emily, $50,000 set aside for her college education. I told him to dissolve it. The money would come back to me. It wasn't Emily's fault, but I wasn't going to keep rewarding a family who treated me like garbage. Then I started making calls. The couch. Coming back to me. The car. Under my name, I was taking it back. Kitchen appliances. I had receipts. One by one, I retrieved every major gift I could legally claim. When I showed up at my parents' house with a moving truck, my father's face turned red. My mother cried. Laura screamed. I didn't shout back. I just told them calmly, "You mocked the one person who had your back. This stops now." I drove away that day with a truck full of furniture, electronics, and the kind of silence you can feel in your bones. I didn't just leave with my belongings, I left with a new rule for my life. No more rescuing people who don't want to save themselves. And I meant it. Or at least, I thought I did. For the first week after I pulled the plug, the silence was deafening. No calls. No texts. Not even a guilt-tripping voicemail from my mother. I thought maybe they were too embarrassed to face me. Then the messages started. First came the group text from my mother. "We're still family, Nathan. You don't turn your back on family." I didn't reply. Then Laura sent a barrage. "You're punishing Emily for something she didn't do. This is petty and cruel. You've changed." That last one stung, but not for the reason she thought. She was right, I had changed. I wasn't going to be the financial safety net anymore. The calls escalated. My father left me a long voicemail that started calm but ended with, "You'll regret this, son. One day you'll need us and we won't be there." The truth was, I didn't need them. What I needed was my peace back. Still, I won't pretend it was easy. Driving past their street felt like passing a crime scene. The air heavy, the memories haunting. At night, I'd think about Emily, my niece. She'd been so excited about the trust fund. I pictured her little face when Laura eventually told her it was gone. That part hurt. But I kept reminding myself, boundaries aren't boundaries if you make exceptions every time it's uncomfortable. Things came to a head 2 weeks later. I was leaving work when I spotted Laura leaning against my car in the parking lot. Arms crossed, sunglasses on, like she'd been rehearsing this moment. "We need to talk," she said flatly. "I think we've said enough," I replied, unlocking the door. She stepped in front of me. "You humiliated Mom and Dad. You humiliated me." I let out a humorless laugh. "I didn't humiliate anyone. I just took back what's mine." "You've lost your mind," she said. You act like we owe you for helping us. You didn't have to do it. You chose to. I stared at her, realizing she truly believed what she was saying. Yeah, I said quietly. I chose to. And now I'm choosing not to anymore. Her jaw tightened. Emily will never forgive you. That's between Emily and me, I said. She stepped aside, muttering something under her breath. I didn't ask her to repeat it. I just got in my car and drove off. But the encounter rattled me more than I wanted to admit. Not because of what she said, but because I realized we were past the point of repair. A week later, my mother showed up at my apartment. No warning. She looked older than I remembered, her hair unbrushed, eyes tired. She didn't yell. She didn't beg. She just said, "Nathan, your father and we've been thinking. Maybe you're right. Maybe we've leaned on you too much." I didn't know what to say. She went on, "We want to fix things. Not just with you. With ourselves." I studied her face, searching for the usual traces of manipulation. But this time I saw something different. Fear, maybe, or sincerity. "We're starting small," she said. "Budgeting. Selling the second car. Your dad's picking up extra shifts." She hesitated. "We just hope you'll give us a chance to show you we mean it." Part of me wanted to believe her. Part of me didn't trust a word. I told her, "I'll believe it when I see it." And for the first time in years, I meant exactly that. 2 months passed before I saw any real proof my parents were serious. At first I kept my distance. I didn't want to get sucked back in by good intentions that wouldn't last. But little by little, changes started to surface. When I dropped by unannounced one Saturday, mostly to return a toolbox I'd borrowed years ago, their driveway looked different. The second car, my father's pride and joy, was gone. Inside, the kitchen counters were bare, no expensive gadgets cluttering the space. My mother handed me a glass of water and an old cup I remembered from childhood. "We sold the Keurig," she said casually. "It was just a luxury we didn't need." It was strange. Humble even. Over the next few visits I saw more. My father coming home sweaty from a double shift. My mother clipping coupons. There was a quiet determination in them I hadn't seen before. I'd like to say I jumped straight into forgiveness, but I didn't. Forgiveness, I was learning, isn't a switch you flip. It's a series of small decisions to keep the door open just enough for light to get in. Laura, on the other hand, wasn't changing at all. If anything, she doubled down. Word got back to me that she was telling anyone who would listen that I'd abandoned the family and stolen what belonged to her. One afternoon, Emily texted me from a friend's phone. "Mom says I'm not supposed to talk to you anymore. But I miss you." That one nearly broke me. I didn't respond right away. I wanted to, but I didn't want to pull Emily into the middle. Instead, I called Laura. Predictably, she didn't pick up. A few minutes later, I got a text. "Stop trying to turn Emily against me." I wasn't going to win that battle. Not yet, anyway. Then came the night I realized Laura wasn't just angry, she was dangerous. It was late, close to midnight. I was on my way home from work when my phone buzzed with a notification from my security camera app. Someone was at my apartment door. I opened the live feed and froze. It was Laura. She was trying to unlock my door. I hit the microphone button on the app. "Laura, what the hell are you doing?" She jumped back, looking straight into the camera. "I just came to talk," she said, her voice half defensive, half panicked. "At midnight? With a key you're not supposed to have?" She didn't answer. She just turned and walked away. I changed the locks the next day. When I told my parents, my father's jaw clenched. My mother shook her head, muttering, "She's spiraling." That was the moment I realized my relationship with my parents and my relationship with Laura were no longer tied together. For years, they'd been a package deal. If I was on good terms with one, I was on good terms with all. Now that was over. For the first time, I started to think maybe reconciliation with my parents was possible, as long as Laura stayed out of it. But there was one thing I hadn't told them yet, something I'd been holding on to, not sure if it would ever see the light of day. The hidden cabin. The cabin was my ace in the hole, the one thing my family didn't know about. 5 years earlier, I'd bought a small, weathered lake cabin 3 hours north of the city. It wasn't much, 2 bedrooms, a sagging dock, and a porch that creaked under your feet. But it was mine, paid for in cash after a lucky investment payout. I'd never told anyone, partly because I liked having one place in the world that was just for me, and partly because I knew if my family found out, it would turn into a vacation spot for everyone but me. After the fallout, the cabin became more than just a retreat. It became a symbol of boundaries, of independence, of what I'd built on my own. I swore I'd never let them near it. But as weeks turned into months, my parents' changes stopped feeling like an act. They weren't perfect, Old habits peeked through here and there, but the difference was real. My father no longer hinted about helping with bills. My mother didn't guilt-trip me into dropping by with a little something. They asked about my life without circling back to what I could do for theirs. One Sunday, I invited them over for dinner at my place. No agenda, just a meal. I cooked steaks, poured wine, and for the first time in years the conversation didn't feel like a minefield. We laughed about old stories, even the ones that used to sting. Halfway through dessert, my mother said, "Nathan, I know we don't deserve your trust yet, but I hope one day you'll give us the chance to earn it back." My father nodded. "We can't undo what we've done, but we can be better moving forward." I didn't answer right away. Instead, I got up, went to my desk, and pulled out a manila envelope. Inside were a set of keys and a faded photograph of the lake cabin taken the day I bought it. "I wasn't going to tell you about this," I said, sliding the photo across the table. "But I've been thinking, maybe this can be a test." My parents stared at the picture. My mother's eyes widened. "You own this?" "Yeah," I said. "It's mine. I've kept it to myself because, well, you can imagine why. But if things keep going the way they have, maybe one day I'll invite you there." My father leaned back, exhaling slowly. "And what's the test?" "That you don't ask about it again," I said. "No hints. No fishing for invitations. No sudden drives up north, just to see it. If you respect that, maybe it means this change is real." There was a long pause. My mother reached for the keys, then stopped herself. "We won't push," she said quietly. For the next 2 months, they didn't mention the cabin once. Not in calls, not in texts, not even in passing conversation. That silence spoke louder than anything they could have said. Laura, however, was a different story. Somehow she found out. One Saturday morning, I got a text from an unknown number with a blurry photo of the cabin. The message read, "Nice place. Bet Mom and Dad would love to stay here." I knew it was Laura. And I knew she was testing me in her own way, pushing to see if she could still stir chaos. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I called my parents and told them the cabin was officially back on the table. They'd passed the test, and I was ready to make the drive with them. The morning of the cabin trip, my parents showed up 15 minutes early. My father had on an old flannel shirt, the kind he wore when I was a kid, and my mother carried a paper bag of sandwiches she'd made just in case. No one mentioned Laura. We all knew she wouldn't be there, and none of us had the energy to pretend otherwise. The drive was quiet at first, but not the heavy kind of quiet we'd lived in for so long. This was comfortable. The sound of tires on asphalt, the occasional comment about the changing leaves, my father humming along to a classic rock station. When we finally pulled up to the cabin, my parents just stood there for a moment, taking it in. The lake shimmered under the late afternoon sun, the dock leaning slightly to one side like it had been waiting years for someone to walk across it. "It's beautiful," my mother said softly. I unlocked the door and let them step inside. They moved slowly, touching the wooden walls, peeking into the small kitchen, pausing in front of the fireplace. My father ran his hand over the mantel. "You did this all on your own?" "Every bit," I said. "We spent the afternoon like tourists." I showed them the trail down to the water, the old canoe tied up to the dock, even the small shed where I kept fishing gear. My mother kept smiling, not the strained, too wide smile she used when she wanted something, but a genuine one, the kind that made her eyes crease at the corners. By sunset, we were sitting on the porch, watching the lake turn gold. My father handed me a beer. "Nathan," he said, "I know we've said it before, but I want to say it again. Thank you. For everything. For giving us another shot." I took a slow breath. "You earned it. This isn't me rescuing you. This is me, trusting you." My mother reached over and squeezed my hand. "We won't waste it." And for the first time in years, I believed her. When night fell, we built a fire in the pit outside. The air was cool, the kind that makes you pull your jacket tighter, and the stars were sharp against the dark sky. It felt like a clean slate, like maybe we could write something new over all the mess we'd made before. Laura never called that night. She didn't call the next day either. I realized then that reconciliation doesn't always mean bringing everyone back into the circle. Sometimes it means closing the door on someone who keeps walking in with matches. As my parents slept in the cabin's 2 small bedrooms, I sat alone on the porch. The lake was still, the only sound the faint creak of the dock in the breeze. I thought about all the years I'd spent chasing their approval, buying peace with money I couldn't afford to lose. And I thought about how different this felt, not bought, not begged for, just earned. When the sun rose, I knew one thing for sure. The cabin wasn't just a test. It was a second chance. For them, for me, for what family could be when it wasn't built on debts and obligations. We left later that morning, but the cabin stayed exactly where it was, waiting for the next time. And this time I knew it would be on my terms. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my story, don't forget to like and hit subscribe. You will also enjoy other stories on AJ Family Drama. Until next time, bye.